welcome to my channel. Some of you may know me from Instagram for my W210, but in this video I'm going to be doing an introduction and walk around of all the modifications I've done to my 124. So this is a standard 1994 E320 cabriolet for the US market, and one of the biggest differences you'll see is the AMG Gen 2 body kit, which I added on. So this car is finished in Imperial Red 582, and I have not had the car painted, just the body kit. So the previous owner had the whole car resprayed, and I just painted the body kit. And the lowers were supposed to be matte, but they were painted gloss, which is perfect because I had the body kit done in gloss as well. So this is a Gen 2 AMG kit, and the front bumper is genuine. And I'm using technically incorrect W210 C36 fog lights. The correct ones are W140, but those act as auxiliary high beams, so this is better if you want to actually use them at night. I also have Euro E500 headlights, which we'll go over later. Okay, I have the replica Duraflex side skirts and the rear bumper. So the side skirts actually fit pretty well. You'll have to drill holes into them yourself. The only inconsistency, besides the no jack hole covers, is if you are running the AMG fender spacers, there will be an uneven gap right here where the skirt meets the fender. It's not that bad, but if this was a genuine skirt, it would line up perfectly. And the rear bumper is pretty much spot on. You'll also have to cut into the bumper to fit the factory impact strip. I also have just square tips on the factory exhaust. So here's a little closer detail of the lower body cladding. From the factory, it's supposed to be a matte finish, so when the previous owner resprayed the whole car, they had done in gloss, which worked out in my favor because the body kit is obviously going to be in gloss. And one more detail I forgot to point out was I opted to keep the chrome strips on the front bumper, which the AMG cars usually didn't have, as well as the rear. And that's because I kind of like the side, so if I were to do it like the correct style, I would have those shaved off or painted, but I liked how it looked, and it works with the polished lip of the wheels, which actually that is also another incorrect detail about this car. The lip is supposed to be machined, but I had it polished, so it's close, but it's still different, but I think it works together with the whole car. The wheels are from a W202 AMG car. They are 17 by 7.5 ET35, and I'm running the stock size of 225/45/17 on Michelin AS3 tires. So here's how they look. So these wheels have no spacer and they fit really flush with the front fender. The rear is a bit more tucked in, but I will be eventually going to the 8.5 rears, ET30, and I'll show a picture of how they look, but I'm going to be running a thinner tire, so I'll update you once I do that. And this is sitting on H&R Cabriolet specific springs on number 4 pads on the front and number 2 in the rear, with Coney yellow shocks. So it's pretty low, and you do definitely have to drive it carefully. So hiding underneath these wheels, which is very hard to see, I have R129 Silver Era SL calipers. They are 4-piston in the front with 334mm rotors, and in the rear they are the opposing single piston, so 2-piston total, 300mm, and they are factory drilled, which is nice. and I'm running StopTech stainless steel lines with Akebono brake pads, so there's very low dust. The initial bite is not that great, but once they warm up, they bite really well. You could drive this several hundred miles and the front wheels won't even get dirty. So one more detail about the wheels I forgot to mention are these mid-length extended head lugs. So these are from a W210, and you'll see they sit flush with the face of the wheel, so I think that looks really nice. So if you can't run a spacer with these, which is fine because I think the wheels fit perfect. And eventually when I do put the rear wheels on, these lugs will still fit and be flush. So with the hood open, you can see I'm running the vacuum line for the headlights right there. That's how you can adjust the level. We'll talk about my engine a little bit. So this is a stock 3.2 liter M104. So under my ownership, I've had to do the head gasket, and while we were doing that, I also did all the front timing stuff. So luckily now it's leak free. I've replaced all the plastic valves and had the valve cover powder coated, so that's why it looks so nice. And of course, I'm still running the resistor on my temperature switch. So this car runs nice and cool. So check out that video if you're interested. So here's the hood in service position. I did replace the hood pad as well as those little elbow pieces right there. I'm missing the center one. I have it, I just don't want to put it on because they're NLA now and you can't get them. So I'll put it on for show, but not for driving around. And here are the Keyhole adjustable shocks. They include an adjuster when you buy the shocks to where it attaches to that little nub at the end, and you can twist it to adjust the dampening to make it softer or harder. That's pretty much it for under the hood. It's a stock car, besides the cooling upgrades, which I wouldn't really consider modified. So yeah, under my ownership, I've had to redo the head gasket, the front timing stuff, the chain, the guides, resealed everything while we were there, new water pump, pretty much any wear item that's normally done on these cars, and all the harnesses. The upper harness was replaced by the previous owner. I had to rebuild the lower, and I had to rebuild the throttle body harness. And just real quickly about my grill, it is a stock grill. All I did was polish up all the chrome, replace a few of these strips, and replace the plastic underneath. And that's how you get a grill that looks almost new. So here's a look at the StopTech stainless steel lines, the H&R springs, and the Keyhole shocks. So a little bit more details about my exhaust. It's W210 C36 tips on the stock muffler, and the factory cat was replaced with the aftermarket MagnaFlow cat. So I'll insert a clip of the car, how it sounds like. So basically sounds stock unless like you're revving it out all the way, and it's pretty good. There's no drone, and it passes smog in California, which is great. So this might be hard to see, but the windows are tinted. They are from a brand called Winkos. They're 70% tint. There's a very slightly blue hue to it, which I like. It looks like the factory glass in the early 2000s cars. So it's pretty much clear. It's very hard to tell that it's tinted, but it's ceramic tint, so it keeps the interior nice and cool. And all the windows are tinted, so even the back glass when the top is up is tinted as well. And it's perfectly clear, and there are no edges, which I really like. You may have noticed on the doors I have the keyhole covered, and that's on every single exterior piece, so like both door handles and the rear trunk. And that's because I run a aftermarket keyless entry system in my car. So this is a very simple thing. It taps into the factory vacuum pump for the locks. So just lock and unlock, and that it kind of saves you from using these key cylinders, which they are NLA and hard to repair, so kind of prolong the life of those. So I got that cover on both sides, and on the trunk. And the trunk was wrapped chrome, so it looks nice. And while we're back here on the trunk, you'll notice I'm running the European trunk insert. So this is a US car, it's not supposed to have it. So I found one, I had it painted so I could run European plates on my car just for show. And I think it looks really cool. Alright, so finally moving on into the interior. You'll see, well, the biggest thing that sticks out is these factory service seat covers, which I just like these because, well, like, I'm not a huge fan of the leather. This is the cream beige interior. My seats aren't in terrible shape, they're actually okay, but I think this just feels nicer to me and preserves the seats. I could drive the car more and not feel bad about using up the seats. And I do have a Sportline steering wheel. This is the all black. So I was formerly running a C36 wheel in here because I was doing the whole 36 theme on this car at one point. But this all black wheel is really nice and I do like it a lot. So the interior is pretty much stock. The only other thing you'll see that's not factory, well, at least not factory for this car, is this Becker Traffic Pro radio. So this didn't really come on any US car. So this gives you the option of having the auxiliary input, and Becker sells a really nice Bluetooth module that taps into it. So when you turn on, it still says Mercedes, has the Mercedes logo right there, and you got auxiliary. So when I power the car on, my phone will automatically connect to Bluetooth and I can play music through the radio. And the sound quality is very good. And you also notice when it's off, it still has the little security blink. So it's kind of hard to see, but yeah, the little red dot. And as far as the speakers, I'm running Polk Audios in the dash, and that's it. Just Polk Audios in the dash. Stock speakers in the doors and stock speakers in the rear. And the audio quality is very nice. It's almost comparable to a facelift W210 with the Bose stereo. Another small detail is these lights. They are LEDs. These are the 4000 Kelvin temperature lights. So these will stay much cooler and hopefully preserve the plastic up top. And I'm not running LEDs in the vanity mirrors just because once you take these apart to put them on, they usually break. So I'll leave that for another day. And these puddle lights are also the 4000 Kelvin LEDs, so they give that nice stock look. They're much brighter and they take a lot less power to run, so at night this is really nice to have. So I'm running the factory Mercedes rubber floor mats. I really do like these because they preserve the carpets and they're much more durable. I could just wash all this off and look like brand new. And you might also notice I do have cup holders in this car. These are from AutoZone. They're really cheap and they're really easy to install, so if you're interested, let me know. I can make a video on that as well. And they actually work surprisingly well. They don't look that great, but they'll hold your drinks for sure. So yeah, in the back I'm also running these floor mats. These are incorrect. They are from a sedan. So the fronts work on all W124s, but the rears are specific to coupe, and cabriolet are different as well. So I just roll these up slightly to kind of roll up on the carpet, and they still fit. So the rear seat, there's nothing crazy going on, it's just stock. I have these pillows, say Mercedes Benz on them. They actually have a W210 part number, and they are almost a perfect match for the seats. So I think they're cool, so I run them. I never have anyone sit back here, but it's a nice little decoration. And normally I'm always running this wind deflector, so it's up when I have the top down, I put it down when I have the top up. But I like this, it's a little bit more SL-like, I guess. And I'm also running the little key cover in the interior as well for the little storage cubby right here. So that's a W210 part number. It's pretty cool. I'll post a part number in the description if anyone is interested. Alright, so for the headlights, these are E500 European headlights made by Hella, as well as the amber corners. These are both made by Hella. So that is technically incorrect for a facelift car. I just personally like how the amber looks better, so that's why I went with that. And these are European lights, and the way you can tell is the city light and the vacuum adjust. So the European cars have this vacuum headlight adjust that can change the level of the headlights depending on the low of the car. So I added that to my car, and the city lights, which are only on European cars. So city lights will come on when you flip the switch to position 1, and that's just a very dim bulb. So it's very difficult to see, but right there, that's what separates the US from the European lights. There's a little tiny outlet for a bulb. That's a city light in the main headlight. So a lot of people get these facelift lights confused for European because they're single piece glass, because all US cars had them in the facelift, but the pre-facelift, if it's single piece, that's European. I'm running the headlight wipers, which was a factory option on my car. So it's probably pretty hard to see because it's daylight, but all my headlights, minus the turn signals, are LED. So I'll insert another clip of them in better lighting. But I'm using Oxydo H4 bulbs in the main headlight. I got a really dim bulb for the inners because on the E500 headlights they're high beams. And these are also H3 LEDs. And I think they look really good, and they illuminate the road really well at night. So these taillights are just factory facelift taillights, and I have the US insides, so the Sidemarker is there, but these lenses are Euro, so they don't have the actual like cutout for it, but it still works. So I'm running LEDs on the back as well. So for the reverse light, that is LED. The running light is LED, and the fog light on that side is LED, but the brake lights are still regular halogen bulbs, as well as the turn signals. And I'm also running LEDs on the license plate lights. So the factory facelift lights are smoked. These are not aftermarket. They all fade, so that's why they look kind of pink or clear, but this is what they're supposed to look like when they're new. So the side marker is LED, as well as the running light and the license plate lights. Here are the headlights at night. This is completely off, it's a very dark street, so position 1 is almost nothing because the city lights. Position 2, the main headlights. And here are the fogs. So the fogs don't make too much of a difference, but that's how it looks like from inside the cabin. Off, on, fogs. I'll show you from the outside. So it's pretty hard to tell, but the lights aren't blinding. They are aimed pretty good. There's the exposure down a little bit. Here's the rear. Those are LEDs, the running lights. And here are the interior lights. bright. So here are the lights in a darker situation. Brighter than the stock halogen lights. And then when you close the window, even through the tint, it's still very bright. So in comparison, here is a bright white LED. And here is a warm white LED. It's just as bright, it's just a more natural halogen color. And here are the reverse lights, which are LED too. They're very bright. It's almost like having headlights in the back. So this is a little difficult to capture without a tripod, but I put LEDs in the third brake light. So instant on, and they all light up uniformly, which is really nice. So I don't have LEDs in the turn signals yet, but these are just amber bulbs, and they still shine through the smoke section. You can tell they're amber. And here's a view of the lights on and off from the outside. And these are just the fog lights, so they do make a little bit of a difference. And I could show you better the city light. So really dim bulb. And these are the also very dim LEDs, but are still really bright. And here are the city lights just by themselves. They illuminate the main beam's housing, so not too bad. Okay, so here I can show you the European vacuum headlight adjust. So you'll notice that the driver's side headlight is slightly aimed higher. I haven't aimed these headlights properly yet, but you'll still see I can raise them up and lower them. It might be hard to pick up, but you can hear the hissing from the vacuum. So it's this switch here. So 0 would be the highest position, and then 3 the lowest. Also, one more thing I want to point out is that you can see that the headlights still have that nice sharp cutoff line like they do from using factory halogen bulbs. So certain LEDs are aimed correctly just to replicate that beam pattern, so you can still run them and not blind everybody. So here is a demonstration of the LED reverse lights. A pretty big difference. And here are the brake lights. So that covers almost everything I've done to this car in terms of modifications. So if there's anything specific you want to see, please let me know in the comments. If you have any questions as well, please let me know. I'll be happy to answer them. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.